On the one hand, you have a whole slew of evangelicals who are absolutely reticent. I tell you, they're reticent about judging. On the other hand, you got the rest of us. We are commanded to judge. Don't be deceived. Yes, Jesus warned about bad judging in Matthew 7, but in John chapter 7, he told us to judge righteously. So we are not forbidden from judging. That is not the issue. How we go about doing it, what we go about doing it to, and how often we do it, that is the issue. There is a, frankly, not so fine line between judging, being a good Berean, searching the scriptures to see if what somebody is saying is true. On the other hand, on the other side of that line, you've got a critical spirit. That is not, despite my personal desire, a spiritual gift. Why? Because, well, I happen to have the gift of being judgmental in spades, but it's not a gift, it's actually a sin. And that is why you and I would do well to take a little quiz, courtesy of Pastor Adverb. That's right, Mike Lee. I mean that sincerely, not critical Lee. I'm just being silly. Pastor Mike Lee giving us a 10-point test to see if we are sinning. Please do everybody you live with a favor. Take this rather brutal quiz with me. Let's get to it, shall we? Number one question, am I more likely to see the sin in others than my own sin? We all are, aren't we? And that means we're all susceptible to the sin of being judgmental. How quick we are to fall into the Matthew 7 judging category. We see a speck in somebody's eye while we have a log in our own eye. It's amazing how easy it is to determine somebody else's faux pas than to see my own. Case in point, where do you enter your home? In our house, we come in through the garage, and that typically, of course, is where shoes are taken off, kicked off, sometimes put away by the meticulous lot in our house, but overall, that's the shoe area. How many times have you noticed other people's shoes, but not your own? It is fascinating to me how I can have a pair of shoes sitting right there where they need to be for weeks, and I don't notice them. But if somebody I live with puts their shoes right there or even next to them, what are they doing? Why don't they put those away? What is the matter with them? That is our propensity and our ability to judge others for their errors and not see my own. Another demonstration, we sure do love ourselves, don't we? That's the issue. We love ourselves so much, we overlook our errors, we overlook our own sins, but because we're not loving others the way we love moi, well, then we see their sins, and that makes us judgmental. Gulp. Number two, when I pray, am I more likely to pray for God's judgment on others rather than marvel at God's amazing grace toward me? What's your favorite psalm? The imprecatory Psalms. You perhaps just love to pray against people, not for people, not praising God for his mercy toward you, but Lord, please fix them. Please take care of them. Please knock them out of that position. Please deal with that person. If that tends to be the scale tipper for you, there's more praying against people than celebrating God's goodness to you and maybe praising God for people. Congratulations. You got yourself a judgmental spirit. Number three from Pastor Mike Lee. Am I overly critical toward others while I give myself a pass or an excuse and justify my own sin? Isn't it the truth? Somebody in your home can do the very same thing that you do regularly. And it doesn't bother you when you do it, but when they do it, look out. Case in point, grape nuts. Grape nuts. Used to love grape nuts. I don't know why. First time I had grape nuts, poured them into a bowl, and I thought, well, this is the weirdest thing. Why did they just ground up boulders and put them in a box? Because those things are like little rocks. Not only did I like eating them at the detriment of my dental work, I loved to put honey on grape nuts, put them in the freezer for 24 hours, and then eat them the next night because, the frozen, it was like a candy crunch. Loved it. I loved it so much, I'd eat it around everybody, oblivious to anybody else and what they might be hearing. But I enjoyed those rock-hard, frozen, honey-laden grape nuts. And then, lo and behold, somebody in my family decided to have some grape nuts too. Hey, you want to chew with your mouth? Go. What are you eating? Pebbles? I mean, I'm not talking like Frosty Pebbles. You eating pebbles in there? Is your head hollow? What's going on in your skull? Don't you have a brain in there? It's just echoing around like somebody's in one of those drum shows. Why did I notice their chomping, their loud sound? Because it wasn't me. Now, that's just grape nuts. Something that is not sinful. It's not like they were even doing it to annoy me. But the very same thing I did regularly, and no doubt worse, didn't bother me when it was me, but when it was somebody else, how dare you? That means I love me. I overlook me. I'm forgiving toward me. I'm oblivious to my faux pas, to my weird habits, and mostly to my own sins. Is that perhaps true of you? Well, thank you, Carol. I can't wait to try some of that low-sodium peppermint lasagna. Sounds delicious. Let's get to the weather, shall we? As you can see, we are going to have a massive warm front moving its way up the eastern seaboard, expecting temperatures upper 90s and low 100s. Unless, of course, you're outside of Christ. Then on Judgment Day, it is going to be hot. Back to you, Carol. Not only hot, weeping, gnashing of teeth. And so thirsty, your tongue's going to be stuck to the roof of your mouth. You're just going to wish for a storm to come through, which you folks down in the South can be expecting on Wednesday.